You're now tuned in to The Twisted Truth with Corey Wesley, where everyday conversations take an unexpected turn. Entrepreneur, artist, author, and truth seeker, Corey Wesley is here to challenge the way we think, question the norms, and bring fresh perspectives to life, business, and beyond. With unfiltered discussions, special guests, and real talk, get ready for a show that's bold, insightful, and always a little twisted. Buckle up, because the truth isn't always what it seems. And now, here's your host, Corey Wesley. Hi, welcome to another episode of The Twisted Truth with Corey, me, your host. Welcome. I've been thinking about a couple of things. You know, when it comes to AI, it has been a hot topic. And many people, there's half and half. Many people are for it and many people are against it. And I would say I am for it for various reasons. I do see where it can be fearful, where it's taking jobs, and it's something that is unknown. And I think when we are fearful of the unknown, we reject things. But I wanted to show and give some examples of some reasons why I believe AI is worth it and that you might not have thought about. Okay. I am an author. I wrote this book called The Hidden Struggles of a Functional Addict. It is available on Amazon in Corey Wesley. And I am also a certified New York State recovery coach since 2014. So I understand addiction and I also understand functional addicts. And so I wanted to show how AI has helped. I created what they call an agent, okay? Because a lot of people right now can't afford therapy, or because, it's hard to find a therapist, oddly enough. We're suffering from a lot of people having mental illness, and addiction is a challenging one, because I feel when it comes to what's called a functional addict, which is such a thing, that, because when you go in onto the internet and you go and look up addiction, horror stories, people losing their job, they're at rock bottom. And there are individuals, just like people who go out and have a cocktail, can indulge in party drugs or whatever they want, whatever you want to call it. Substance, even smoking marijuana is a drug, even though it's legal now. But not to get off the point, because this is about AI in general. But I created what's called an agent, and I'll share it with you, and I hope it works out. But let me get my phone real quick so I can just tell you what it's called. If you use ChatGPT, it's called Pathfinder Recovery of Support. And what I did, because I'm a certified recovery coach, I took all the materials and everything that I learned and I put it into this agent. And so if you can't afford a therapist, you can actually go in and chat with this item. So, for example, and I don't know if you can see it at the top here, what that says is empathetic coach, skills in recovery support, and motivational interviewing. So let's say you want to help a friend. I use voice to text because I hate text typing. I got big fingers. You know what that means, right? No. So anyway, so I have a friend that wants me to support them in harm reduction. How can I help them? And so now it's writing out some information. And I'll play this for you really quickly so you can hear, for those that are listening, because you have an option. I have the ChatGPT. I do pay for it, but and obviously you have to pay. I think you have to, if you're paying for it, you can access my agent. I made it public. So what I'm going to do is let you hear it. I'm going to play it out loud.
That's really powerful that your friend feels safe enough to ask you for support, and even more powerful that you're open to learning how to help. Harm reduction is all about meeting someone where they're at and supporting safer choices without judgment. You don't have to have all the answers. Just showing up with empathy can mean the world. Here are a few ways you can support them. 1. Listen without judgment. Sometimes just being there, listening, and not trying to fix or change them can help your friend feel accepted and safe. You can ask open ended questions like, what does harm reduction look like for you? What kind of support would feel helpful from me? Harm 2. Educate yourself on harm reduction tools. Depending on your friend's substance use, this could mean things like providing or helping them access clean supplies, e.g., syringes, pipes, etc., knowing about fentanyl test strips or naloxone, Narcan, and how to use them, understanding safe use practices and safer spaces. Let me know what type of substance or behavior they're trying to reduce harm around, because tools can vary, e.g., opioids, stimulants, alcohol, self harm, etc. 3. Support their autonomy. You don't need to push them to stop using. Just help them stay safe and encourage small positive steps. That might sound like you know your body and what you're ready for. I'm here for you no matter what you choose. Help connect them to resources. That could be.
So as you can see, this is an awesome tool. And what it did was I put in my thoughts as someone who went through the training. I wanted people to gain an understanding. And for those that don't have an opportunity to speak to someone or might not have a supportive network, okay? And so AI helped me create that. And so that, you know, I felt like I was a functional addict. I was doing it in a dark time, and I was losing a little bit of myself, and that's a different story. But I wanted to help people who maybe wanted to reduce their usage. When I was heavily using, I was able to reduce my addiction when I wanted to. Many people can't. And they don't have anyone to talk to. And so I used AI for good. Okay. So that's one example. The next example, I am a caretaker. My mom has COPD. It's an illness that is very challenging. She also was bipolar, with a hint of schizophrenia. And although she takes medicine, it is very hard when you go to the doctor. And I know I'm not really going to touch on the care that minorities get versus our counterparts. However, a lot of times in medical, when a patient, like a Black person, says to a doctor, I don't want that medicine, or versus a white person, in the notes, it will say the person refused, versus in the notes of a white Caucasian person, they might say they decided. Or if we we're having pain, that we're seeking seeking drugs or something of that nature, versus this person is experiencing these symptoms. And versus someone having just disagreeing with a doctor versus a Black person disagreeing and we're aggressive. So the notes are very different and the care is very different. And sometimes minorities aren't listened to. Okay. Their symptoms are disregarded, or because of our healthcare system, and I don't want to always blame it on that, but in our healthcare system, because of COVID and all that, a lot of health providers, they soar so much that we lost a lot of, not lost a lot of in the sense of death, but they left that industry. And as a caretaker who has a parent in a nursing home, I see how short staffed they are, and it's scary. And having a parent in a nursing home, I have to rely on a doctor that's seeing all the patients. Like, they don't have multiple doctors, they have one doctor who visits the whole dang facility. How are you supposed to care for all these symptoms? I mean, I know doctors go to school, but they might not specialize in that area. Yes, they have a pulmonary doctor that comes, but they come once a week. They don't really know these patients. They're seeing all of them. They're seeing them at a general. For example, my mom, I asked for her medical. They drew blood, right? And what I did was, and everybody who's listening, I have my mother's medical records in front of me. And I don't understand this. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school, medical school. But what I do know that maybe you don't know, I took, excuse me. See, I always say the evil don't want you, excuse me, to share positive information. What I did was, because some of this stuff, have you ever looked at your medical report? Excuse me. I apologize. Have you ever looked at your medical report and said, what is all these numbers? Yes, they have these charts that you're in line, okay, and that does help you kind of gauge you where you are, right? But my mother has various illnesses, so I kind of want to figure out, is she getting all the care she needs? Maybe this is a suggestion because, again, you have to be an advocate for yourself medically, and you have to be an advocate for your loved one. So what I did was I took a picture. A picture. Now it needs to be a clear picture, and I use my phone. Obviously, if you got a scanner, scan the thing. I then told ChatGPT, can you analyze this and in lay terms, tell me what you're seeing? Can you give me recommendations? Now, yes, it could be wrong, but what you can do now is read it. That's why they say reading is fundamental. And figure out, have a basis of knowledge. I always say, they say that term, knowledge is power. No one can pull wool over your eyes when you are talking to a doctor. Well, and you don't have to tell them where you got the information. That's the key, because then they will try to debunk what you know. And it has worked for me, where I'm like, well, my mother's iron is low. Do you feel like we should, from what I read, it then said, do you think she has a low dose? Is there any foods that we can add? Now, I already know the information, have it in my hand. Want to see what this doctor says. Many times I have learned that when you not act, but as you are informed, doctors treat you differently. My mother gets the care that she needs because then they're like, okay, well, so I heard about this medication that what do you think about that? Now then we can have a dialogue, because now they see, oh, this person is informed. Also, I have noticed that sometimes doctors don't know everything. They might not know of a certain thing, and then they can say, oh, well, I never heard of it, but let me check. Or I've also, and this is from true experience, I've had a doctor say, let me get on the phone and talk to one of my other specialists, because that's not my specialty, but let me. And then the doctor says, yes, that is correct. The specialist told the doctor that is correct, and my mother got the care she needed. So don't just debunk AI for just, oh my God, it's going to take over. I agree, it has its negatives. Don't get me wrong, I see. But I'm trying to show you that there are some positive benefits to using AI. Lastly, I'm a business owner. Milton Wes Art is something that I have been working on for the last year and a half. And many people don't understand search engine optimization. They don't understand that just having a website isn't enough. You have to understand keywords, meta tags, meta titles, meta descriptions, optimizing URLs. You probably looking at me like, what? Yeah, you have to know all of that. Plus, if you, like, say, for instance, use platforms that say, oh, Wix or Shopify, oh, you can just have a website. We can just do da and put this here. Yes, they've made it user friendly. And yes, they have templates. But that's not all that goes into it. You have to know what certain coding and back end, there's schemas and that talk in the back end. There's robot files. Now you looking at me saying, "Well, what is all that?" Right, but because in the past, if you join these platforms, right, and you under the impression that that's all you have, and you're not getting any traffic, but you're paying these companies monthly fees just to have the website, you don't realize that you're not getting traffic because Google Google. It practically is a monopoly. And if you notice when you search, everything on the beginning is sponsored because they're paying for to be on the first page. But many small businesses don't have that financial backing to do that. And what in the past, what many small businesses had to do is set aside a budget and hire a developer who knew coding that could go in the back end real quick, do your schemas, do your robot files, tell Google what to look at on your site, what not to look at on your site. All of these things that I have to be honest, I didn't learn until, I started learning before AI because I've been in business prior to AI. But what I will say is AI made being a small business owner who is self-funded so much easier because I did not have to rely on a developer. I didn't have to rely on purchasing an app for my website to do certain things like SEO or whatever. And now, yes, this is where it can be fearful for those who went to school for a code programming. But just like anything, things advance. We've had HTML before. Then certain platforms like Shopify, they have their own individual coding, okay, that they created for these platforms. So that you had to learn certain different codes and platforms and things of that nature. But you had to spend money on a developer. I didn't have to do that anymore. I have fixed many of the errors that I had. That my site was up for almost years and never got traffic. Never. And it was sad. And it was upsetting because it was discouraging because I knew I had a good product, but I wasn't getting seen. And I spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Google ads and nothing happened because I didn't understand it. But what I was able to do is learn that I could type in ChatGPT, can you look at this coding? Or in like Search Console on Google, it tells you what errors you're getting on your website. And I would just take a snapshot of the error and say, ChatGPT, can you analyze this and tell me how to fix it? Now, yes, it might be scary to go into a coding and sometimes ChatGPT, and I have to be honest with you, and let me put a disclaimer. You can't always trust ChatGPT to be accurate. But what you can do is, like, I would used to not be sure. You make a backup file and then you play with the backup file to see if it fixes something or whatever so that you're not making mistakes. And let me tell you, my site has improved so much that now I'm maximizing keywords. I'm getting long tail keywords utilized. It's also helping me create, give me ideas for hooks, how to create meta tags that people are clicking on. It's a science to it, and we're not taught that in school. And even if you go to college, you're not taught that. And so this is why many businesses, I feel, didn't succeed because we're not taught business skills, the day-to-day stuff, the real stuff that we use. And so what I'm trying to demonstrate to you is and say that yes, AI is fearful, but don't be left behind. Okay? Don't be scared because there is a narrative. It's just like with Facebook and stuff and Instagram and all this great stuff. Yes, certain people use it for that thing. I remember a long time ago, people were like, oh my God, they use Facebook, they just posting food. Right. But now look what we do. I find restaurants because people posting food because I know where they at and I go to nice restaurants. Oh, that I never knew about. Free marketing. Guerrilla marketing used to be a part of what we used to do. Putting flyers, handing out flyers on the street, doing that. People don't, have you ever, do you see that happen anymore? No. These platforms, if you are clever enough, it is free advertising. Now, everyone's gotten savvy, so they know when you're overselling, you know. But just as you noticed in the beginning of this video, what did I do? I showed you my book. Didn't promote it, didn't push it, but I just gave myself a promo. But I also gives me credibility of why I created something and how I have that authority to talk about it. You can use AI in a positive way. I always tell people don't be scared and don't be left behind, because what's going to happen, because if you know our administration, he's invested millions in AI. These corporations are seeing where they can cut costs, and you don't want to be left behind. You also want to be able to use it. Corporations are now incorporating AI in their workflow. So if a boss asks you to break down a report in Excel and you're not so savvy, like I said, it's not always accurate to a certain point, but I will say it gets you further than you looking at a book. It manipulates the numbers for you. It gives you, and then you have to obviously do some more research or figure out if it's accurate or not, but it gets you a head start. So, like I said, these are the three main reasons why I believe you should use AI. Those are my three top ones that I use it for. You can use it even if you need to write a professional email. Type the email out and ask it. Don't have it write it for you, but write the email out and say, please edit this so that it does the grammar for you. Yes, I agree. We should know how to write. We should know how to read. But all I say, and I tell people this, and this is how I will end this. In AI, if you give it trash, what do you think you will get back? Trash. A lot of trash. But if you are thoughtful, if you understand prompts, if you understand how to ask the right question. I don't know if you ever remember iRobot, where he said, "No, you're not at I guess his mentor or whatever was like a computer or whatever. I can't remember, a hologram." And he kept saying, "You're not asking the right question. You're not asking the right question." Well, we're here, and that is what it is about, asking the right question. And so what I've also learned, and this is another, I said I was ending, but the other thing that I learned was my input. If I got something that didn't make sense, I would then look at how I asked the question, and then I rephrased it. And actually, the more you do that, and the more you're writing these prompts and asking, and you see that you're getting the input that you need, and it's constantly, and it's learning. Wow, you are learning with AI. You're also seeing how things are being written or rephrasing words. Eventually, you start noticing when you're writing emails, and then you ask it to edit it, but don't manipulate it, don't add things. If you tell it to just edit it for grammar. You'll notice that your email is probably right. You start noticing that your commas are in the right place. You start noticing you're ending your sentences properly. You notice that you're using words that you normally didn't use because you notice AI started to use a proper language. It is a learning tool. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Twisted Truth. So the Twisted Truth here is that AI can be used for good, and there's nothing to be scared of. And don't be left behind. Remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends about me. And as I always end, remember to stay blessed because you are already blessed. And I thank a friend of mine because he told me to just be myself and to talk. I was in the other videos, I was just being over the top, and I realized he was accurate. And so I sent him a big shout out. Thank you. Because this is me. This is normal. This makes me feel better. And so I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Remember, share, like, and subscribe. It helps grow my community, my channel. I have a lot to share. I have a lot to say. And I hope others can use this information. Wherever you are, remember, stay blessed because you are already blessed, and have a good night, good day, good morning, whatever it is. And be productive. And log on to ChatGPT. And if you have a friend that's suffering from addiction, tell them about my app, my agent on ChatGPT. Maybe it'll help them, support them. Have a good night. Bye. That's a wrap for this episode of The Twisted Truth with Corey Wesley. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with someone who needs a fresh perspective. Remember to stay curious, stay bold, and always remember this: the truth isn't always what it seems. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep twisting the truth. See you soon.